Ryan over on the YouTube chat says, there seems to be so much attention drawn on creators leaving Final Fantasy XIV, but people ignore the quality creators that have stuck around for years. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, they get their due when that's the news. So like the Fat Black Chocobo event, the media tour, Fan Fest, live letters. These are all times when people look to the people who have always been there, either to say, man, I wish you were more involved in this, or to say, I'm so glad you are involved in this. So I think that does come around. I think it's just at a different time. So I think Ryan points out like a valid reason of like, it is easy to lose context during these times of drama as people leaving, that we're forgetting about all those other times. But come March 31st, when we move into the next live letter, that focus will shift back onto those. When people go click, you know, a Cole or a Quasi or a Mr. Happy response to the live letter. And if the live letter has something in it about the next Savage, then there'll be like a Zines and an Arthur response to that. And like, you know, and like Zeppo didn't quit. So like Zeppo will be back until it's back. And so like there will be that focus on people and up and comers. There are people who, you know, there will probably be somebody who this is their first ever live letter to respond to, and they'll put that out. As we move into the hype season, you will see that emphasis. The hype season for 7.0 will begin in July with FanFest. Whether they're going or not, that'll be the beginning of that time. And the people who have that long history of covering the game, that's when those communities will go, man, I'm so excited to see what your opinion is. And whether they've stuck around and they've just been here cranking. Quasi's been here for a minute now and has been cranking. Mr. Happy's been here since forever and has been cranking. Or there's somebody who's gone, you know, they've kind of been a little absent, focused on other things, but they come back for events like this. People like Larry's are, who may put something out around that. They're like, hey, I'm really excited for your thoughts on this, even though you haven't been putting out as much content as of late.
Yeah, what's interesting, especially because like this gets into a lot more inside baseball, is that there are content creators who are just always kind of following the trends. And so you saw those just coming to 14. They've already moved on. They're covering whatever the new hot hype game is. And they just kind of have to keep always chasing that. And like, there's nothing wrong with that mindset if that's the kind of the content that they want to make. 14 hit a huge wave going into Endwalker where it was the be all end all. I remember getting interviewed by a magazine because I was a 14 content creator. And I think I blew their socks off because they were like, hey, like, aren't you so glad that 14's doing so well and you've been this content creator and you're known and established? What are your plans after Endwalker? And I go, well, I'm probably going to quit the game. And they looked at me like I was nuts. And I was like, I've been telegraphing this. Like, if I'm not having a good time, it's finishing the story. I don't know how I'm going to feel. I'm going to make a choice that's best for me as a player. And that's essentially what obviously came to pass. But the guy looked at me like I was like nuts. He's like, that obviously was not an expected answer for that interview. And I think essentially when it comes down to content creation, like what Chris and I have talked about, is that with a 2-year cycle, like even talking with My Name is Bife about this, content creation is a feast and famine kind of mindset. Like it's this mindset of just like, oh my gosh, like this is going really well. You know, like you've heard Chris probably say, when the sun shines, you know, like make wheat, you know, like
make hay while the sun shines.
There it is. And so when all those things are going down, like you have the ability to kind of try and capitalize that, because you know that there's going to be a January and a February of the new year that it's like, okay, well, yeah, I hope that you have content that performed and that you can survive that, because being a full-time content creator has a whole different level of responsibilities and stressors that a lot of people take on. I think when it comes down to it, like Chris said, yeah, like you'll see the people who are healthily, and it's a healthy thing, taking, you know, breaks and playing other games. I like that aspect because it also can give you context to what this game is doing or that game is doing, to say, hey, this game's doing something really cool and unique. Wouldn't it be great if we could translate that into some way into this other game that also adds a lot of context, a lot of health for it? I think though, it's essentially, there's that other side of the coin besides the content creators. It's the demand for what people are willing to click on and watch, which also drives a lot of these things. There's like companies that literally study like, oh, this trending topic is doing this or this is doing that. Like go ahead and like try to make that video, and they try to make recommendations for all these things, which is really quite interesting. So I'm not ever really worried about the like the trends on these things. We saw the same thing with leaving WoW, you know, like back in the day, like everybody was quitting WoW for 14, and because people wanted to see that content. So that demand on what people are interested in drives a lot of the bystanders or passive, you know, like any kind of content creator or just somebody who wants to make a video, like, hey, maybe I'll share my thoughts on this because I have a different perspective. And we want to encourage that. We want to encourage the ability for people to sit down and share their thoughts, because everybody's going to have either a slightly different perspective or a radically different perspective. And that in and of itself, I think, is a good thing for the overall conversation that's going on.
Next comment.
We're out of time.
We're out. That's it.
That's it.
We'll have to do more shows.
We'll have to do more.
Guys, the game will continue. We were gonna cut it off.
That was it.
But the comments, there's too many good comments.
We got through one comment. Let me, how many comments did I actually pull up? Yeah, there was like, I had 10 different comments. Oh, it could have been 3 hours, just to know the fact of how long-winded we are. You know, so it's like 22 minutes later times 10, baby. Let's freaking go. All right, guys, Chris is going to hang out, continue over on the Twitch side of things. If you want to go hang out with him and you're over on the YouTube, click the link in the description and go ride that wave over there. Otherwise, we thank you guys so much for this. We'll be back on Monday, probably talking about Chris's impressions of Diablo 4, any other who quit this or that, like whatever, like things that we can hopefully provide a level of context and clarity to. Ideally, no, stop quitting games, people.
Every game you play, you now have to play forever.
Ever, for all eternity. You locked it in.
Be really careful adding those new games.
I really feel bad for Skill Up.
Dangerous.
I really feel bad for Skill Up. He's reviewed a lot of games. Ooh, it's going to be tough being him.
That's why he doesn't do live service.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
he covers a couple, but he's mostly covering things that have an end.
Like, I finished that one. Success. All right, guys. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks again for the likes on the stream. If this was a highlight that you watched, thanks for the likes on that. And I'm going to hit the end broadcast and wave it out. And we will see you next time.